I'm Mark,
And I'm Josh.
and this is Alter Ego Comics TV, back from a many-month hiatus where I just didn't have time to do it. But I was talking to Josh the other day, and every Thursday morning we come in and we compare notes on what we liked, what we didn't like of the week's new comics. So I thought, why don't we do that on video and get it out to our customers and get it out to the interwebs? Because we don't really have an opportunity to talk to each and every person that comes in the door and offer recommendations and what we like. And there's so much good stuff out there, but the problem is that there's just so much stuff out there. I mean, there are more comics being published now than ever before, especially from Marvel and DC, and it's so easy to miss something that might be excellent because you don't hear about it from anybody. So that's the purpose of this, to, I guess, share what we like from the week that was, from the week that came out, and also to hopefully spread the word about some excellent titles that, in our opinion, aren't selling nearly what they need to be selling. Think that's fair?
That's accurate, yes.
Okay. Well, this week there were two books at the top of my reading stack that I've been looking forward to, and they're both not on a regular schedule, unfortunately. So I've been waiting for a while. But first up is Artifacts #2 from Top Cow, and I need to give a little history on this. I picked up Artifacts #1 when it came out a couple of months ago, and I hadn't read a Top Cow comic book in years. But I picked it up because I'd heard some really great things about it, and because I own a freaking comic book store, and I need to be able to talk to my customers about what comes out. And I was totally blown away. Great story, great art. It impressed me enough that I went back and started reading Ron Mars's run on Witchblade, which started with issue 80, and the first trade is only $4.99 and collects 6 issues. And it's a great way to sample Witchblade, and if you're familiar with Witchblade when it came out, many years ago, and the majority of the book was scantily clad women, and it was kind of light on story, heavy on artwork. There is an equal balance, if not tipping more towards the story than the artwork. The artwork is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but Ron Mars has been the writer of this book for over 50 issues, 50 consecutive issues, and there is such a great storyline going on. I highly recommend checking out Witchblade, whether you start with Mars's run at number 80 or go back to the beginning. But anyway, Artifacts #1 impressed me enough that I went back and I checked out all of the Witchblade issues leading up to Artifacts. I also checked out some other Top Cow books, and I really think Top Cow is a publisher that people really need to be taking more notice of. They're doing some excellent work across the board. So, bottom line, Artifacts, great book. We still have copies of #1 available. We have a few copies of #2, and that's the problem with a lot of these books, that we order what we think are good numbers on them, and if it takes off and everyone enjoys it, unfortunately we may not be able to restock it. So if it's something you want to check out, definitely recommend coming in sooner rather than later, or waiting for the trade. The first trade is going to be $9.99. It's going to be out in November, and it's going to collect the preview issue from Free Comic Book Day and the first 4 issues of the series. So Artifacts, I love it. You liked it.
I enjoyed it, yeah. It was a good time.
Good. Excellent. The other one is Driver for the Dead #2 from Radical Publishing. Radical's another one of those new independent publishers. They've been around for a couple of years, and we've liked pretty much everything that they've done that we've read.
Yeah, everything Radical's put out has been inventive. The artwork and the story have both been really good, and I like their quality of production. They do these perfect bound single issues that are worth the slightly higher cover price.
It's got a cover of $4.99. The other thing about Radical that I've noticed, no ads. There are no ads in the book.
Not a one.
It is, I believe, 48 or 52 pages, so you get your money's worth with these, whether you're picking them up in single issues or picking them up in trades or hardcovers. Driver for the Dead, as I said in an email that I put out after issue 1 came out, it's kind of like Supernatural meets Supernatural. If you like
It's the transporter.
If you like supernatural elements, if you like TV show Supernatural, it's about a guy that drives a hearse and he transports dead bodies that have some mojo going on. It's not like he's a regular hearse driver just working for the Joe Schmo funeral home, but in this case he's transporting a guy that deals with voodoo, who's been alive for 100 or so years.
Who looks remarkably like Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yes, he does. Yeah. But, the second issue didn't disappoint. It was as good as the first issue. It's a 3-issue series, comes out every other month. So Radical, check it out. It was radical. Action Comics. A couple things to point out about this. It is the fourth part, I think, of Paul Cornell's run on this, where Lex Luthor is the central character. Every issue has been good. You know, even though Superman's not in it, Superman wasn't in Action Comics for a long time before that either. But you know, if you like Lex Luthor, if you like good stories and good artwork, check it out. But two reasons to check this one out. First off, the last page of the Luthor story, we get an appearance from Death, from Sandman, Neil Gaiman's Death character. And she's going to be a focal character in the next issue. And from what I've heard, Neil Gaiman actually contributed a lot of the dialogue to issue 894. That's the next issue. So you may want to check that out. Death has only been, to my knowledge, in one other mainstream DC Universe book, and that was a number of years ago, and I think it was Keith Giffen's Legion run.
And she had no dialogue. It was like one panel.
Yeah, but this is going to be a significant event. The other thing, if you're a Smallville fan, the backup story in here is a Jimmy Olsen story, and it's the first time we see Chloe Sullivan in comic books. So Chloe from the TV show makes her way to comic books for the very first time in the new issue of Action Comics. And it's written by Nick Spencer, who writes Morning Glories.
That's right, Morning Glories. And I really enjoyed Morning Glories, and I wasn't sure how much you could do with the Jimmy Olsen character, but this was a great story. It's a great pickup. It both pokes fun at the history and also respects it. And plus he used Cusack as a verb, and he deserves points for that.
It was an enjoyable backup. You know, a lot of times the backup stories are not necessarily things that you care to read. But the Jimmy Olsen story was excellent, and Chloe's in it. It was really cool. Now you're reading something that I haven't read, but you've been telling me to read for the last 4 months. So
yes, you're a foolish comic shop owner. This is G.I. Joe Hearts and Minds. This is the 5th issue, the final issue, but we do still have all 4 in stock. And this isn't much like a traditional G.I. Joe comic. There's not an overwhelming plot where we take out Cobra. Each issue spotlights 2 characters, one Joe, one Cobra, and does kind of a quiet character profile in their own voice or talking about themselves, their history. And it's amazing. Some of the characters they pick are ones I don't care about at all until I read the issue, and they really make you feel for them. And it's the best licensed book on the stands right now. I'm sorry, Buffy, but this is better.
I'm not Buffy. You don't have to apologize to me.
It is what it is. But like I said, we have all 4 issues in the stands. Definitely worth the check out. And it's also going to be out in hardcover, all 5 issues, in November.
Yeah, heard a lot of great things, not just from Josh, but other people in the store and other stores across the country.
People with qualifications, not just Josh.
People with intelligence are enjoying G.I. Joe Hearts and Mind. So check it out. One of the notable hardcover or trade releases this week is American Vampire Volume 1. This is for anybody that is a Stephen King fan, that is a vampire fan, that is a fan of good stories.
Fan of American history, the Old West, the 20s. It's got everything.
Each issue of this first story arc has 2 storylines, one that takes place in the Old West, one that takes place in the 1920s, and each of them are excellent. There's actually the same artist on both stories, but his style changes so that you can't even really tell that it's the same person drawing both stories in the issue. So on that, you know, it's definitely worth checking out. The gentleman that writes the 1920s story, Scott Snyder, you know, I haven't read anything else by him before, and I should also say I'm not a huge vampire fan and I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, but I checked this out anyway and was very pleasantly surprised. Scott Snyder's going to be taking over Detective Comics very soon, so it's going to be really cool to see what he does with Batman because he's doing an amazing job on American Vampire. So the first hardcover is out. It's $24.99. Got copies in stock. If you're not reading American Vampire, you really should. It's our best-selling Vertigo book right now in single issues. And then last but not least, I just want to touch on we're doing some theme displays in the store this month for Halloween. We've got a horror display set up, and of course everybody's looking forward to The Walking Dead, the TV series premiering on AMC on Halloween at 10 o'clock. And in honor of that, we're actually offering the first volume of Walking Dead for 40% off. So through the month of October, we've got Volume 1 on sale for 40% off. So many people are reading Walking Dead. So many people are, you know, excited about it. They've stuck with it. The TV series has generated a lot of buzz. So find out what everybody's been talking about. Pick up Volume 1, save 40%, and then dive into the other volumes. And definitely check out the show when it premieres on AMC. Anything else you want to add?
No, you pretty much covered it.